Well, first of all, thank you for being here and taking the time to do this with me. I know you're on your daily stroll through the park. What park are you in?
I'm in Golden Gate Park. I'm at the polo field is right behind me. That big long meadow is right in front of me. Um, so you'll have some people probably going by behind me. That's the polo field.
Yeah, I've been there. Tanya loves to go running there, so I am familiar with it. Tell me, how has this time where sheltering in place has been in effect? How has it been for you? What have you been doing to keep yourself sane and moving, and especially since the doors at AcroSports had to close?
We'll leave sane for later, but moving, I can answer. I have a daily practice. I don't even get out of bed until I've connected all my body, wiggled, shake, stretch, move around, get my eyes rolling all directions, feel like when I sit up, it's an effortless move that happens as a result of all this moving around. So by the time I'm actually feet on the floor, I'm good to go for, walking to the shower. I take a cold shower every morning, and this, flushes all the capillaries, gets me awake and ready to move. And then I do yoga. I don't always do it first thing, but I will do it sometime during the day. I do it about an hour of yoga every day, Kundalini yoga. So the work I'm doing is a lot of pranayama, a lot of breath work. And so then, I might go on the computer and eat and spend, no more than a couple hours before I got to get out of the house. I'm ready to go then. And then I will spend hours just wandering around the park. Just, it's 2.5 miles from my house to Golden Gate, through the park to Ocean Beach. And I'll walk down to the beach, I'll walk through the park, I'll go the other way to the woodland forest. I can go all the way north to the Presidio, walk in the Presidio, there's a little bit more city streets on that walk. I can go up to Mount Sutro behind UCSF. So lots of green space. I've really appreciated that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the beautiful parts about San Francisco is that there is a lot of green spaces to be able to do that. My mind right now is kind of caught on your morning routine. I'm very curious about it. Tell me, so you wiggle your whole body and then you move your eyes. What is it about moving one's eyes that's important?
Well, moving everything is important, but the eyes are a place that gets stuck. And the ocular nerve is so close to the brain. It's really such a short distance, right there from the eyeball. So all the stuff going on in the brain. And when I wake up, I have, I've been dreaming a lot. I've been having some really hard dreams sometimes, or, just waking up and really heavily emotionally affected by dream state. And my eyes are stuck. They're still, in that whatever rapid eye movement they went through, they're not here. And so there's, 6 muscles around each eyeball that control direction, and some of them get really spasmed and tight. And so moving my eyes around, looking directions, that starts to free all those eye muscles. That connects through the top of the skull to the jaw muscle, to the brain stem, which is, arousal and awareness of alertness. And if you know, how then my head and jaw can move because my eyes can move. If my eyes are still stuck, I'm going to have some tension in the back of my neck, in my jaw, in my tongue and mouth when I start to move. So yeah, I'll get my eyes moving, my tongue and teeth moving, my, you know, wobble my head and neck, and doing this lying on my back, so there's no pressure of gravity. And as I move, I'm getting direct feedback on my spine, and, you know, I have a down comforter, so it has weight, you know, enough resistance. It's a big puffy thing, so there's a lot of it, but it's not, you know, too hot or anything. So I have some resistance to feel into as, you know, I may move around. I'm actually getting sensory feedback from my covers, from the bed itself, to get me more embodied.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Yeah, I love that as a first thing in the morning movement routine, just before you even sit up. And I love what you said about sitting up or getting up effortlessly. I think that's beautiful. Can you talk to me a little bit more about the cold shower? I know that this has been becoming popular over the last couple of years, especially through the teachings of Wim Hof. But it seems like you've been doing this for a while. Tell me more about the cold shower, and how does one benefit from something that is so uncomfortable?
Well, first of all, it's not that uncomfortable, and it doesn't have to be that long. So there are a couple tricks, and Wim Hof has got the breathing down, and, you know, it doesn't have to be a whole lot, but you do want to be able to really fill your lungs. So the fact that I've already wiggled my chest around, gotten my intercostals freed up, means that I can take those deep breaths that get me oxygenated, so that you know, sudden impact of cold water isn't, you know, isn't painful.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is I do a lot of vigorous rubbing of my skin in the shower itself, to, you know, so that's I'm thinking of it as a capillary workout and massage, so
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, that they're constricting really hard in the cold shower, and then when the water comes off, or if I'm rubbing it, then it's also being dilated and moving around, and so it's energizing. And then there's this really special thing that happens in the brain when you submerge your face in cold water. This is sort of an evolutionary trick to allow us not to drown in the first few minutes that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we may fall in the water. And it puts us in a kind of a parasympathetic trance state that just does wonders for parasympathetic tone.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I don't usually hold my face under the water for 2 minutes, but even, you know, going beyond that initial shock to just let it soak in has a just a great effect on the state of well-being, that little cue that the body's giving us, that, yeah, you're good, you can do
Mm-hmm.
this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for those who are not familiar, so what's the difference between sympathetic and parasympathetic?
Okay, sympathetic is that active motor use. So, you know, when you're driving your body, you're using your muscles. That's sympathetic. Parasympathetic is digestion, metabolism.
Yeah, makes sense. And so it's kind of like you are waking up, but you're not in fight or flight mode. You're more in a present, rested, recovering state as you're starting your day. Is that correct? Because that's kind of what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I mean, the whole hormonal surge of daytime, and when you get the light to your eyes and you're good to getting going, that's, at a moderate level is what you want. But it's the same stuff that's fight or flight. It doesn't have to be fight or flight. It could be fight, flight, or go out and live. Daytime activities require those same stimulations, of the heart and the lungs that, to get you going, to be active, to have, to keep your body strong and healthy. And then, opposite is at night, you want to metabolize all that you've eaten and let your body repair any damage or stress that's happened while you have been active.
That makes sense to me. And then when you were talking about yoga, you were talking about pranayama and breath work. What is pranayama for those who don't know, and what type of breath work is that? What does it look like? And is that something we can all practice?
Yeah, pranayama is just a fancy Hindu yoga word for breathing exercises.
Yep.
And there are numerous ones, and they can be done either with movement of the rest of the body or just specifically paying attention to the airflow. One of the basic, it's not, you wouldn't even call it pranayama, you just call it breathing. Or yoga breathing is use your nose and close your mouth. This does deepen the breath, and it filters the air through the airwaves. So that's, in itself really valuable. And then one of the breath exercises I do is called breath of fire, which is a rapid pumping of air through the lungs with a attention to the exhale. It's like this. And I'm actively moving my diaphragm about 2.5 inches per breath, or per pump. It's so that is a vigorous, enlivening, flushing.
And how long would you do that for?
Well, I do that, the breath of fire, I start with that one, and I'm doing it in a particularly stressful hold position for 3 minutes. And, sometimes I think, oh, if I held that the entire 3 minutes, then, that's the hardest thing I'm going to do today.
There you go. There you go. Well, a couple of things are coming up for me. One, I think it's important. It's something that we can all pick up on. Maybe just be aware when one wakes up to wiggle their fingers, their toes, their body a little bit, and move their eyes, like you said, and all the way into your tongue and jaw. And then once getting up, maybe taking a little cold plunge there. And then really focusing on some breath work. And even if it's just paying attention to the breath, it seems like that could be enough just to bring some awareness. And something that you were just sharing right now was you were doing this breath work while holding a challenging pose. It kind of feels a little bit like what we're experiencing right now, sheltering in place, where we're having to hold a pose. We're having to hold a position. Can you talk to me about working through the discomfort that exists within holding a pose or sheltering in place, and how you manage that or process it?
Well, the thing about holding a pose physically is when it gets really hard, cognition gets really basic. I may find myself naturally counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm up to 60, 70, 80 or whatever, big breath, go more, toward the end of it. If I can get to 10, I'm starting over at 1 again. It just, everything goes into the body doing it. And I think that that's really important to let yourself do in a hard situation um, like quarantine is to let everything go into the body. Give it what it needs, and don't press yourself really hard cognitively, until the body is relaxed.
Yeah, I agree with you. So would you say that some of your routine helps you get into the body and flush that and allow you to relax so you can create more space for yourself cognitively? Is that happening for you, or am I misinterpreting that?
Yes, it does allow me, like, I'm not going to get onto the computer, for instance, until I feel like my body and my mind and my emotions are in a well-regulated state. It just is not good for me to go there wanting anything. I have to be ready to give when I get on the computer, because it's going to take my attention. So I've got to be ready to give it.
That's
So then
wonderful.
there's the other piece, is the emotional. Now, when I really get in touch with what's going on in me, I'm hitting grief. So this is a hard time. I've lost familiarity with my life. I've lost a lot of my sense of identity from the things that I do. I live alone, so I've lost a huge amount of social engagement, and the things that I are near and dear and I love are I'm cut off from. So this is grief, and we're all experiencing some level of that. And grief creates tension in the body, and so I find that part of what I'm doing is to allow that grief to exist and to transform me to being more fully present as myself, with acknowledging that there's a whole part of me that's now invisible, and it still matters, and I still have it as a value within me. And now I got to get it out. And I've got to use what I do have, which is my body, to manifest all of those things that I'm grieving. So that sounds like a big job, but there are simple practices we all know, like crying, punching the pillow, whatever, all of those things. Tears go a long way. And just if that's what's coming up for me, just giving myself the time, and then holding myself, actually giving myself compression into the deep muscle, the big muscles, because that releases oxytocin. It does actually help. You don't want to get into a crying jag that just seizes everything up and drains you, and then you're no good. Just there's a balance of acknowledging it, feeling it, and then caring for it and valuing it.
Yeah.
And so those days I might not get to the yoga. I may need to go right outside, because then the other thing is using sensory awareness practice to actually stay with the goodness of what I'm feeling right now, or getting to the point where I'm feeling good. I might not when I start, but to get to not being affected by what's lost from the past or what I'm afraid of losing in the future, but to really notice how everything right here is well regulated and healthy and optimal now.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Dharam. I feel like it was very insightful, and I have a lot to think about, and I hope everyone who's listening and watching got something out of this, because I think it's so valuable. And the fact that you were able to share that so vulnerably with us, and encouraging us just by modeling the behavior to honor those feelings and what our body is needing right now is very, very powerful. So thank you for that, and thank you for your time and joining me here for a little bit to chat. I think I need to do another one of these with you.
Okay.
Yeah,
That'd
it
be
was
fun.
great.
Love
It was
talking to
great.
you.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you, Dharam. Enjoy the rest of your time in the park, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.